What fact is common knowledge to people who work in your field, but almost unknown to the rest of the population? Coffee shops spend more on milk than coffee. The toner in your printer is plastic being melted onto the paper. To add to this, an inkjet printer macro boils the ink in the printhead before transferring it to the page, bubbling just barely. I had no idea about this until last year. I worked as an insurance adjuster. Most people have no idea what homeowners insurance actually does. Here is a very simple guide to understanding what is covered by homeowners insurance. A sudden and one-time occurrence. While there are some exceptions to this, understanding those few words will help you understand 95% of what is and is not covered by your policy. Note: my experience applies to house insurance only. Important exceptions: earthquakes and floods. Floods from the ground up, not from a burst pipe. Both of those require separate coverage. Edit, and landslides and sinkholes. These are generally excluded for the same reasons as earthquakes, ground movement. Most 911 calls an ambulance receives on a daily basis are not remotely close to being emergencies. EMT can confirm. About half of our calls are for patient transfers to between hospitals. The other half of calls are 911 calls. And only half of those 911 calls are true emergencies. And the only time we use lights and sirens is when a person is in deep and staring death in the face. So if an ambulance comes up to you and amp-s, move the f*** out of the way. Fast. Heartworms are treatable for dogs, but not for cats. Also, keep on top of your heartworm prevention for your dog. If they get heartworm but you can prove that they've been continually covered, which isn't difficult, the receipts are good enough, and your vet will have them in their database, then the heartworm prevention manufacturer will pay for the treatment. Man, I love that you all love your pets. An elevator will go up to the top of the hoist instead of crash to the floor in most catastrophic failures due to the counterweights. I don't know if that makes my elevator anxiety better or worse. It all depends on whether there is a masked villain sawing at the rope holding the counterweights. The cloud is just other people's computers. There was an Indian politician that thinks the data is actually stored in the air inside actual clouds in the sky, and was opposed to using cloud-based government records because they could be corrupted by rain or storms and lead to false arrests. Virtually every piece of copper, aluminum, or steel you come across has been chopped to bits, refined, melted down and used to make whatever object it's a part of. Dozens, if not hundreds of times. Copper pipe probably started out as hundreds of different wires from various devices from around the world at one point. There is a surprising amount of infrastructure under your feet. You'd be surprised how much public utility runs underneath private property. Always call before you dig. We had a garden in our backyard growing up. I used to dig in the spots where my mom didn't have any plants growing. I decided one morning that I was going to dig to China. I was young, okay, and kept going until I hit a thick black cord. I stabbed at it with a shovel, and saw all sorts of colors inside it. I thought I'd found some treasure, but what I was actually looking at was dozens of individual wires inside the cord, and what I'd done was take out the cable TV for the entire street. Edit, this happened in like 1985. That's why there was static on the TV, and there was no fiber involved. Not everyone who works in a library is a librarian. Bonus, librarians have master's degrees. Office copiers cost upwards of $7,000. Some can go for $15,000 to $20,000 depending on print speed and capacity. As a UX designer in the US, we hate having to localize the text for use in Germany because German words can be ridiculously long compared to most other languages. You would think all the heavily relied upon server infrastructures were super secure and highly redundant. Ha 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 ha. When you write to your politician, he won't be reading your letter, he won't be writing the reply. That's all done by staffers. All he does is sign here. Most don't even sign the letters. They are scanned and printed signatures. I'm a sign language interpreter. This is based off the comments I get from the general hearing population. We do not take care of or help the deaf person. We work for them same as we are working for you. No, I'm not related to this deaf person. I'm not even friends with them. The best treatment for a child with anxiety is treating their parents' anxiety. As a minor diagnosed with anxiety whose mother is also diagnosed with anxiety, I can confirm. Most people are not good at detecting lies, and consistently score no better than chance. 50/50, when tested. The score goes up slightly when it's someone they know that they are talking to, but not much. Ironically, most people rate themselves as very good at detecting lies, but they're wrong. To add to this, experienced detectives are no better at telling who is lying and who is telling the truth than rookie police officers. The only difference is that they believe they are better. Right. I also remember reading that among law enforcement the only ones who scored above chance were Secret Service officers due to some of their special training in reading non-verbal language in strangers. Even they were only around 70%, though. A corporate policy of requiring users to change their passwords every 90 days does not make your system more secure. It tends to actually make things less secure. That if your guy is not busy, he is doing a good job, not a bad one, and you don't need to fire them. A friend of mine went to bat for me on this many years ago. I was sole guy at a smallish company. Apparently one day, while in a meeting, happened to spy me playing Quake 3 and made a comment along the lines of what the hell do we actually pay him for? My friend thankfully asked, is your email working? Can you access the internet? Are all our servers up? That's what we pay him for. No one is going to see your website if you don't have a strategy to drive traffic there. For whatever reason, people seem to think if you put something online people are, at best, going to flock to it in droves, or at worst at least stumble across it accidentally. But that's 100% not going to happen. Nobody's just going to stumble on your website. It's like putting a restaurant on the moon, not telling anybody about it, then wondering why no one's eating there. There is no such thing as a perfectly functioning aircraft. Every plane you fly on has a multitude of maintenance issues, just not severe enough to affect safety of flight. Edit, affect vs effect. Edit, my apologies to everyone boarding a plane today. Rest assured, this is nothing to worry about. Planes are still the safest way to travel. Thank you for the nightmares. Being a stockbroker does not mean I know how you can turn $100 into $1 million by next month. Stop texting me. Turning your computer or phone off and on again will fix a solid 70-80% of all problems the device likely has. If you stick your eardrum with an object, you will start to cough. This happens because the nerves interconnect, en Vegas. I hope this information helps you in future battles. In designing 3D games, many programmers, even in big gaming companies, still have a hell of trouble with colliders, making it so the player doesn't fall through the floor, wall through walls, etc. Everything should work correctly, but no. The solution? God knows. We all just layer dozens of colliders on top of each other and hope for the best. Why do you think there are so many walking through corner glitches? Edit, there are probably some programmers and companies who have this down, but I'm not 100% certified to talk about this or anything in all honesty. I'm just an indie game designer and have discussed this with other people who have much more experience, some who work for companies like Microsoft and can confirm that this happens. Another edit, sorry for multiple edits, but thanks for silver award. In some museums, what you see on the shelves can be less than 10% of the whole collection. For example, the Louvre has over 460,000 items in their collection, and only has space to display about 35,000 of those, roughly 7.6% of their total collection, due to limited physical space, and for aesthetic purposes, most items in museums stay back in storage and/or archives. Plus, most items need to be maintained at certain temperatures and light. If we can't meet those needs, it will never be allowed for public viewing, ever. There are most likely some of the most amazing, visually stunning pieces of artwork that you or anyone will never get to see. Bonus, accession and deaccession can also be a touchy area. Just because it's old doesn't mean we're going to take it and add it to the collections, and we try to be nice to people who are disappointed we won't take their precious family heirlooms. Other times, it's easier just to say, yeah, we don't want that. Edited. For correct percentage of the Louvre's collection. It's slower than I thought. Edited again. For those who were asking, I have a BA in art history and a master's in museum studies. I presently work as a digital preservation librarian in the archives and AMP special collections of a university, and have worked in numerous museums universities all over the world. It's been quite a fulfilling job. I've handled artwork from Michelangelo, Rembrandt, Warhol, Pollock, Picasso, and many more. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and now here are the Infinity Stones.